Good morning, children. Today we will discuss about the fifth chapter, materials and things. Okay. Today we will discuss about how can you know the different states of materials. Okay. Just you are observing that certain materials they can change their shape according to the shape of the container. Suppose container is there. Some material can change their shape. But some other materials can retain their shape. Retain means they won't change their shape. Okay, those materials which change their shape are mainly liquids. We are calling them as liquids. They are changing their shape. No, suppose milk is there. If you are pouring that milk in the glass, it will be taking the shape of the glass shape. If suppose milk is there, if you are taking the bowl and if you are pouring that milk in that bowl, the milk is taking the shape of this bowl. That is, those materials which change their shape are mainly the liquids. Liquids, what they are? They are changing their shape. Change their shape. For example, what are the examples? Water, milk, rasam, oil, kerosene. All you are seeing them as liquids. Okay. Okay. Only one I am writing water. Others are all liquids, that is rasam, oil, milk, kerosene. So many liquids are there. They are changing their shape. Okay. Some materials they do not change their shape. They do not. They are called as the solids. SOLID, solids. That is, they do not change their shape. For example, if you are seeing example, wood. Wood is there. If you are keeping anywhere, the wood is like that only. If you are keeping that wood in truck, it is like that only. If you are keeping that wood in your house, it will be like that only. That is, they won't change their shape. They do not change their shape. For example, other examples, brick. If you are seeing, it won't change their shape. Plastic objects, buckets or mugs, they won't change their shapes. If you are seeing the rock, it also won't change their shape. And also vegetables, if you are seeing carrot, beetroot, vegetables also they won't change their shape. If you are keeping in one container or another place, it won't change their shape. They are called as the solids. They do not change their shape. Best example I will give you as the wood. Others also there. Example wood, only one example I am writing here. Other examples I will tell you. Brick, plastic objects, vegetables. They are the examples of the solids which do not change their shape. Okay. Just to think of the solids, liquids and gases around you. Just you observe it with your eyes. Generally you have to discuss with your friends, but now it is not possible for us to discuss all at a time. Okay children, here now we can say one group as the liquids, other group as the solids. For example, if you are seeing the liquids, they take the shape of the container they are put into. Just now I said to you. Which container you are keeping the liquid, that one, it will be taking the shape of that container. Just write the properties of the solids, liquids and gases in your notebook children. Already we completed the properties of the solids, liquids and gases in the states of matter, that you write it. Okay. Here just to discuss about the sugar. Just while thinking about the properties of the solids, just sixth class group, one group of students they are forming, which are there in the sixth class. They put sugar in a glass. They took a sugar glass. In that glass, they put some sugar. Okay, they put the sugar in a glass. They put the sugar in a bowl. They put the sugar in a vessel. Three places they kept. What they observed, where they kept sugar, they kept in a glass. Glass they kept it. And also they kept the sugar in the other bowl. Bowl also they kept the sugar. And also in a vessel. Vessel also other type of bowl you can say, vessel. Steel, anything. Okay. What they observed, this group of students in the class 6th class, one group. One group what they observed? G means group. One group they observed that sugar take the shape of the container. If they are keeping in the bowl, it is taking the shape of the bowl. If they are keeping the sugar in a glass, it is taking the shape of the glass. If they are keeping the sugar in a vessel, it is taking the shape of the vessel. First group of the 6th class students, they observed that the sugar takes the shape of the container only. Because they know the liquids, they take the shape of the container. They concluded? They concluded that sugar is a liquid. Liquid means already we discussed. Liquids are having the property of the changing their shapes. Shape of the container. Okay, they change their shape according to the shape of the container. That's why this first group of the students, class group, they concluded that sugar is a liquid. But in the 6th class, other group is there, no? The second group in that class, they disagreed with the first group. Disagreed means they didn't agree with the first group. They are having the thought that sugar is a solid or a liquid they are having. Here, a student from the second group, name they gave you as the Razia girl. She came up with the idea. Which idea? She took a single crystal of sugar. Sugar, if you are observing the sugar, it is having small crystals, particle. One sugar, one sugar, one sugar, one sugar, one sugar. This Razia, what she did? This Razia girl name, she took. What she took? Here, she took a single crystal of the sugar. This one. One crystal of the sugar. Okay, and one drop of water, and she declared that sugar is a solid. Why? Means if you are taking this crystal, it is not changing its shape. If you are taking one crystal of sugar, it is not changing their shape. It is retaining their shape only. That's why she said that, what she said? This sugar crystal is a solid. She declared that sugar is a solid. While water, we are adding water, no? She took water also. While water is a liquid, because water is not having any shape. She declared, she said this one. The first group also agreed with the second group, 6th class second group children. Okay, what must she have argued using one crystal of sugar and one drop of water? You have to think yourself. Why this first group agreed with the second group? Why means here, you know that one. Here crystal, if you are taking the observing the sugar, it is having crystals. One crystal it is having. If you are taking the one crystal of sugar, it won't change the shape. It will be like that only. But if you are pouring water, if you are adding water or if you are taking water, that water is not at all having any shape. That's why Razia, second group, 6th class, second group girl, she said that she declared that sugar is a solid while water is a liquid. Okay? Okay. Just from these observations, you have to know that is common salt is solid or a liquid. Just you think of yourself. Okay, children. Next one, sinking or floating in water. What is the next one? Sink, float in water. Sink means going, sinking in the water. Float means upon the water it is staying. That is floating. Sinking means going deep into the water. Sink. Okay. Now we will discuss about the sinking or floating in the water. Okay. Sinking or floating in water. Which will be sinking, which will be floating in water, we will discuss now. Okay, children, just assume, just imagine that a tomato, potato, brinjal, iron nail, sponge, wood, stone, piece of chalk, leaf and paper, if they are given to you. Think it yourself. Which of them sink in the water? Which of them float in water? Okay, just according to your thinking, just record your predictions, what you predicted, what you thought. That is predictions in one column, objects in one column. Suppose prediction, sink means stone, it is sinking. Floats, paper, it floats on the water. Float in water. It won't sink, paper. If you are in childhood days, we used to prepare that boards with paper. After preparing that boards, if we are keeping that paper in the on the water in water, it float in water. General observation. Just to write it. Now, what you have to do? First one is assumption. You have to think. Next step, try to test. You have to test it. Whether your predictions are correct or wrong. How you have to test it? By dropping that above objects. What I said, tomato, brinjal, potato, everything. The above objects in a beaker of water, one by one. You have to check it. So that you can understand whether you, whatever you thought is correct or not. You can observe it. What do you find recording your observations? In the table you have to write it again. First, according to your assumption, that is thinking, you have to write in one table. After testing, you have to write in other table. Whether both are correct or not, just to check it out. Okay, children, next, here just you observe for which objects your predictions are correct, which object your predictions are wrong, just to observe it. Why also you have to understand it. Okay, after school reopens, we will do this, children, so that you can understand it easily. Now add a lot of salt to the water in the beaker. Okay, just to, what is happening here? This water will become excessively salty. What do you observe? What is the result? Just to discuss it. Okay, whether it is dissolved in water or not dissolved in water. If you are adding the lot of water, that is water, lot of salt to the water in a beaker, what will happen? It dissolves, it sinks in the water. You know this one. Observation. Now next one. Do the iron objects float? Not sinking, float in the water. Just example, I will give you example so that you can understand it easily, children. Okay. Here, take some water in a bowl. Just take a bowl, wide mouthed bowl, means big bowl like this. Mouth should be big, wide mouth. Mouth is not this much. This one, not like this big, this much, not like that. This is small, narrow mouthed bowl. Just to take the wide mouthed bowl like this. Okay, children, just to take a bowl. Okay, in that you put take some water in this bowl. After taking this wide mouthed bowl, take some water in this wide mouthed bowl. In that, put an iron nail in it. Take water, and after that you have to put an iron nail in it. What do you observe here? Put an empty iron tin in that bowl. Just you put in that bowl. Just put an empty iron tin dabba. Empty means khali. Empty iron tin, you keep that one here. What do you observe just here? Here, just also observe whether a wooden piece floats on water or not. You have to do the activity here, children, so that you can understand it easily. What will happen when a wooden bowl is dipped in the water? We will do this after school papers, children. Okay, what we have to conclude from this activity, after doing the activity, we have to conclude this result. We have to give the result. Here, depending upon these examples, we are having that idea that some materials will sink in the water, some materials will float in the water. Some materials in one shape will sink in the water. Sink means going into a depth into the water, sinking, munagadam. But some materials float on water when they are in the other shape. It depends upon the shape. That is, that materials that can sink. Okay, you know, materials that can be sink, that is going deep into the water, we can make them to float. Okay, but all the materials that are floating means upside only, they are staying floating. All the materials that float, they cannot be sink. They cannot be made to sink. If you are sinking also, it will be coming up only. Suppose if you are taking a bowl and if you are pouring water and if you are adding this brinjal or tomato, if you are sinking also, it floats on water only. It floats in the water upside only, it is floating. That is, all the materials that float, we are not making them to sink. It won't sink all the materials. But that materials that can sink, going inside, we can make them to float. It is easy. Okay, children, understood, I think. Okay. Here, next one. Okay, this is about the iron objects float or not. Just this is observation you have to do. You have to do the activity and you have to observe it, children. Okay. Next, coming to the soluble or insoluble in water. Soluble means you know, insoluble also means you know. Just take 5 beakers with water. 5 beakers, 5 jars with water. In that beaker with water, take small quantities, small amount you can say, small quantity or small amount of sugar in 1 beaker, small amount of salt in 1 beaker, small amount of chalk powder in 1 beaker, small amount of sand in 1 beaker, small amount of sawdust in 1 beaker. Add each material to separate the beakers and you have to stir it with a spoon or any other thing. You can stir it. Then just observe the changes what you are observing. What you are observing, you know that one. That is, some materials dissolve in the water when mixed with water. Dissolve means karagadam. Some materials it won't dissolve in water. It won't dissolve. Dissolve means karagadam. Okay. Then substances are said to be soluble in water, we can say. That is, some materials dissolved when they mix with water. These substances are, we are saying them as the soluble in water. Important, children. Soluble, in the name itself is there now, S-O-L-U-B-L-E, soluble. Means getting mixed with the water, soluble. Suppose water is there, if you are adding sugar to that water or salt to that water, after stirring with the spoon, mixing with the spoon, after some time can you observe the sugar? No, because it dissolves in water. That one you can say it as a soluble. Dissolve is nothing but the soluble, you can say. Substances are said to be soluble in water. The materials that do not dissolve in water are said to be insoluble. In means the name itself is there. Insoluble means the materials that are not soluble in water, they are said to be insoluble. Not, in means here not, just keep it in mind as a not soluble, not dissolving. Soluble is nothing but the dissolving, not soluble, not dissolving in the water. Repeat the activity with different liquids. You have to do the activity, children. With lemon juice, with coconut oil, with kerosene, with vinegar, you have to do the activity. You have to discuss with your friends after doing these activities. But now not possible. After school reopens, we will do all these activities, children. Here we have to coming across the words like soluble and insoluble. This is important from the examples. Sugar, dissolves or not. Material added to the water is the sugar. Sugar, if added to water, it dissolves. You can say it as the soluble in water. Salt, it dissolves. Sand, like that you have to get the idea. You have to do the activity. Sawdust, chalk powder, you have to do. Whether it dissolves or not. If it dissolves means you can say it as the soluble in water. If it won't dissolve means you have to say it as the insoluble in water. Okay, children, this is about the soluble and insoluble. Nothing simple is there. Soluble dissolves, insoluble not dissolving. Karagadam, karakapoda. That's all. Okay, children. Okay. The homework for you today is just write the what you had write it here. Soluble, definition and examples. Insoluble, definition and examples. Okay, simple small homework, children. Okay, this is the homework for you. Just write neatly, write the definition and example, and you send the pic, children. Okay, we completed this chapter, children. In the next class we will discuss about the keywords and what we have learnt, and we will discuss about the question and answers also, children. Okay, children, bye for today's class.